Greetings, I'm John the Spirit. This will be my first time recording with my new microphone, and welcome to new Omnifactory Supershorts. My voice will be a little more muffled, but there is a pop filter and there should be no peaks. Also, it replicates the actual experience of my voice better. Anyway, today we're going to upgrade the power conduits of our base. I'm going to make 256 wires of end steel, hopefully corresponding to 512 conduits. But that does require me to actually have 128 vibrant alloy energy conduits, so some of my base is going to go down while this happens, but I'll try to be sparing. You may recall that replacing conduits is as easy as right-clicking where the old conduits were. The problem with this is that none of the wires of different types will connect to each other, so until I actually get every single wire replaced, everything I'm currently turning on will turn off, which is of course highly dangerous. Good news, we did not need to use all of the end steel energy conduits, and we have successfully, we have 56 leftover wires for later, and all of these vibrant conduits that I can upgrade. Project number 2, process tungstate and scheelite ore. With hydrogen and EV power, we can turn tungstate or scheelite into tungsten dust, and some other kind of useless stuff. Tungsten we can then blast furnace into hot tungsten ingots and vacuum freeze into tungsten ingots, which we will then turn into hot tungsten carbide ingots and hot tungsten steel ingots. These take long enough that I'm going to need more EV blast furnaces. That's also probably all I'm going to do in this episode. This might be a little bit shorter. I'm going to temporarily remove the crafting card so I can make my first titanium plated micro miner and send it. One stainless steel chest, and then excitingly my very first titanium plated micro miner. Now I've taken out 2 quantum flux, and I'll shove my titanium plated micro miner in, and we'll see it go. How exciting. I'll process bauxite and sphalerite right off the bat, along with scheelite and tungstate, although I'm gonna do scheelite first, and tungstate. We'll partition the copper ore into this workbench, as well as the niobium and the cassiterite. Niobium will be used later. I don't need radon from radium salt right away, so it'll get a home in this drawer. Molybdenum and manganese are going to join the radium salt in a large drawer, whereas the silver I'm going to delete because I don't need it. A 1x2 drawer on a new drawer system will hold the tungstate and scheelite. I'm using a second drawer system to prevent drawer controller lag. Now that my scheelite and tungstate processing is basically done, I can stick bauxite and sphalerite into my system. We are out of coal dust for steel. That's because I haven't supplied any coal dust to the system. However, carbon also works for steel, and it's a 1-to-1 ratio, so I'm just going to put carbon into this interface instead of coal dust. I'm making 5 microprocessor arrays because I need to use tier 4 circuits for EV machines. One unexpected problem. The aluminium cables that I need require either silicone rubber or styrene-butadiene rubber. But guess who's been storing benzene and buta-deeyene in my system? Someone who is about to use benzene and ethylene to make styrene, styrene-butadiene, and oxygen to make raw styrene-butadiene rubber dust, and all that stuff plus sulfur to make styrene-butadiene rubber. This guy. This fluid filter on cyan will take benzene and ethylene and put them into this chemical reactor. I'm supplying them over here, and I'm actually getting all this hydrogen. It would be nice to take it all and shove it into these turbocentrifuges, but 1, I won't constantly be making styrene-butadiene rubber. 2, you can't have extract priorities, so this cannot be made to extract hydrogen before this extracts hydrogen. So I'm going to extract down purple so that all of this, except the styrene, because I'm going to blacklist this on styrene, will go straight into the fluid interface. And then I'll extract always active on purple. It would be nice if I had set it to blacklist before I turn on the extract, because now I have useless styrene in my system. So I'll just filter this to insert the styrene on cyan, and it should refill the chemical reactor, and that way all the hydrogen can go into here and empty out. Now I'll switch this back to purple insert so that all the rest of the styrene goes pumping into this chemical reactor. Meanwhile, I'll filter oxygen and buta-deeyene onto this reactor on cyan so that they fill it from the other side, and we should soon get our styrene-butadiene rubber pulp. And I'll supply sulfur to this ME interface, and set this conduit I just attached to always active, so we'll get sulfur. And now we're getting styrene-butadiene rubber. I will now proceed to take my assembling machine for wires, and I'm going to place it over with the styrene-butadiene rubber. Excuse me, I would if this were not HV. So never mind, for now I'm just going to take styrene-butadiene rubber from there at will. Now I can coat my aluminium cables, and 1 end steel cable. And we'll make our EV machine holes for an EV CEF. By the way, since one EV machine uses 2048 EU per tick, this is going to take 8192 EU per tick to run 1 tungsten creator. That's more than one of these numismatic dynamos, which means I'm really cutting it close on power right now. But that's why I want to get signalum as fast as possible so I can upgrade this power. The problem is, it takes 80 seconds per signalum even at EV. Luckily, each signalum upgrade kit only requires 4 signalum plates, So it'll only take me 4 hours of waiting to get all the signalum upgrade kits for 48 numismatic dynamos. Unfortunately, I need a lot more lumium, and that is actively worse. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to rush sufficient tungsten steel to run 2 tungsten steel blast furnaces. And then we're going to make enough signalum and lumium to create 48 numismatic dynamos. And then we'll drastically increase our power output and then make proper infrastructure. This is called bootstrapping. We'll slap our EVCEF here with an end steel cable on top. And then we'll create 2 molecular disintegrator E's, which are just EV electrolyzers, which I've placed here, hooked up with basic item filters on tungstate and scheelite, and with fluid filters on hydrogen. And now, at great cost to our power reserves, we are creating, using tungstate and scheelite, some tungsten. I'm going to need 26 tungsten steel coil blocks, which will be 208 tungsten steel ingots or 104 tungsten. So as soon as I have 104 tungsten dust, I'll get back to you. As a measure of how bad this is, we're currently operating at over 2/3 of our power output. So while we're waiting for all this tungsten, let's calculate what we're going to need to run all of these simulation chambers for the power. According to my creative testing world, a signalum numismatic dynamo produces 12,500 RF per tick, and 1 diamond is useful for 2.76 million RF per tick. 1 diamond therefore lasts 220.8 ticks in the numismatic dynamo. If I'm going to make 48 of these, I need 1 diamond every 4.6 ticks. And although I sound very unenthusiastic about that statement, that unenthusiasm has a lot of enthusiasm behind it, because 1 diamond every 4.6 ticks is like 4 diamonds per second. According to previous calculations, one self-aware shulker model gives us 0.1196 diamonds per second. To be more precise, I need roughly 4.35 diamonds per second, which implies that I'm going to need at least 36.3 shulker models. As each Enderman model supports 6.2 other models, I will need to add 6 more Enderman models. Now, according to the code, the loot fabricator takes 50 ticks to do a craft. Since one model produces a pristine shulker matter every roughly 1,000 ticks, one loot fabricator can support 20 models. So we'll need to add 2 extra diamond loot fabricators. We have 4 Enderman models running right now, so let's operate under the assumption that we're going to be using 10 and figure out how much of a DML setup we need. 10 Enderman models will give us 1.196 pearls per second, and the ratio of machines in a given tier is 1 pearl melter to 1 quartz maker to 3 clathrate reactors to 7 alloy smelters. My calculations, however, indicate that we'll need just over 2 MV electrolyzers. We'll deal with the fact that we need 4.784 glass per second later. I'll need just over 4 MV chemical reactors for resin and clathrate, and I'll need roughly 4 MV alloy smelters. Making 4.784 pulsating polymer clay per second will allow us to run almost 72 simulation chambers. So this isn't a bad upgrade at all, except for the immense number of DML machines we need to make now. But hey, we're getting up there in tungsten. Now out with the cheated-in materials. After some opportune AFK, I have a lot more tungsten. And now I'm making some nichrome so that I can upgrade this blast furnace. While I wait for these things, I'm slowly building up the resources I need for this enormous upgrade. We'll turn all this nichrome into wires so we can make coils, and then make our nichrome coils, replace our blast furnace canthal coil blocks with nichrome coil blocks. In hindsight, I think I mentioned in a recent episode that my multi-smelter over here could be replaced with canthal and still work the same. I just didn't because canthal had a higher price. Well, oh well, it would only have saved me 64 nichrome, and I've got lots of chrome from processing ruby dust. Okay, in goes the tungsten. Have fun. Tungsten is cooking up, or really has been cooking up for a while, and we'll soon have the 104 tungsten we need for our 208 tungsten steel. Meanwhile, I'm turning lots and lots of gold into rods for all of the redstone conductance coils I need, and I've been using my little gear system here to make tons of the iron gears I need. Alright, here goes. Let's turn all this tungsten into tungsten steel. I'm also getting ready to stock up on the oodles of energetic alloy I'm going to need for my gears. I'm using just enough calculations to calculate most of these things, so I won't give you my precise calculations unless for some reason you're following me exactly. In any case, if you want to, I'm making 38 numismatic dynamos. Don't mind me, just making about a 152 Invar gears, shortly to be followed by like 152 Electrum gears. Before I make the Restonia gears, however, I don't want to use the Atomic Reconstructor recipe because it's slightly more expensive, so I'm going to work into thermal expansion, which will happen in the next episode when I make Primal Mana for signalum and lumium. It's nice being able to craft just 38 diamond furnaces. I have here a bunch of diamond plates, which I'll use to make my 38 lapidary calibration augments. I also have 38 excitation coils, and I'm making tons of fuel catalyzers. It's worth noting, this amazing, super expensive 48 signalum numismatic dynamo setup will only power me 73 EV amps or 18 IV amps. 18 IV amps is not enough to upgrade this entire ore processing plant to IV. So, to a certain extent, that signalum power system is just going to be a drop in the bucket, but it'll help us get to a yet better power system, the nuclear craft fission reactor, which in dev is super great. And our 600,000 RF per tick that we'll get will be kind of dwarfed by our 2.2 million RF per tick, I hope. Getting the 286 fuel catalyzers was probably the easiest part of this. The rest is going to take so long that I actually might just remove the tungsten steel cooking in this blast furnace for a little bit so that while I sleep tonight, I can run all of this energetic alloy and make all of these gears. It would be nice if I could set this up to also turn some of that into vibrant alloy when I'm done, but actually, you know what, I probably could by doing some funky stuff with the limited item filter. I need 23 stacks and 12 ender pearls. I'm going to add energetic alloy and ender pearls and precisely the number of ender pearls I need so that at all times this input bus will be filled up with enough items to make any of the 2 recipes that I desire. Once I run out of ender pearls, there will be a random energetic blend of the input bus, but it won't cook into anything. Behold all the tungsten steel I need for 2 wall-shared tungsten steel blast furnaces, which require 26 coils again if you're sharing walls. And now on goes the blast furnace making my stuff. I'm just going to extract always active straight into this small storage crate, and hopefully by the time I wake up tomorrow I'll have all my energetic alloy and vibrant alloy. That I do. I've changed the limited item filter, and in go the materials. I also got all my gears. It's time for 38 numismatic dynamos, with our 38 laboratory calibration upgrades and our 38 × 7 fuel catalyzers, as well as an extra 20 fuel catalyzers to add the 2 per numismatic that we'll need when we upgrade all these to signalum. Here are all the materials we'll need for the hardened and reinforced upgrades. Well, plus all the gears, of course. 38 hardened and reinforced upgrade kits. Tungsten steel of the wazoo, which will now turn into wires. The last thing I do before I end this episode is to make a thermal elemental dynamo, which will train up to self-aware while I'm away. We cannot use the pyrotheum dust, but with elemental reduction fluid, we can make blitz powder, or basalts powder. For that, however, we need hydrofluoric acid. Where are we going to get fluorine? I'm thinking bastnasite ore is our best bet. Scratch that, lepidolite, although you need more of it, creates fluorine and is cheaper than bastnasite. We can smelt 4 of it into the lepidolite dust we need, and wait very patiently while it electrolyzes. We'll use a block mold with water to make snow. I needed a shovel to break up snow into snowballs for my cryotheum. Now to use my snow and elemental reduction fluid to make the 2 blizz powder. I'm making 44 pulsating meshes for data models. Here's my cryotheum dust, exciting. I've calculated that if I don't ore process for saltpeter and I use pristine thermal elemental matter for every one of these resources that's required for the different special dusts, I'll need about 53 pristine matter, which isn't terrible. Anyway, here's 44 data models, and our thermal elemental data model, which I will put in its proper place by shift clicking because you can't click it in or you'll lose it. I'm doing this, by the way, because primal mana dust requires these types of dust. We're going to need about 624 primal mana for what I am doing. Mana dust, excuse me. And with my 26 tungsten steel coil blocks cooking up, that's it for today's episode. In the next episode, we'll make our signalum and lumium and upgrade our numis. And if we have time, we'll upgrade our DML system to be able to support this enormous power generation. And then we'll really be cooking, hopefully enough to get us to nuclear craft. As always, if you have any feedback, I'd love to hear it. I hope you enjoyed, and God bless you all.